Hi guys, how we doing? So, I kind of debated and I decided I am going to go ahead and continue on my actual ball a little bit. We're going to do this a little bit different this time. If I can get my plaster to cooperate a tiny little bit here. So my plaster from yesterday is not fully dry. I knew it wouldn't be. It takes it a couple of days usually when you go the layers like I did. But we're going to kind of use that. I am trying to mix this a little bit thick, but my plaster does not want to cooperate with me today. It's getting there. There we go. That should get us where we want to be. So, basically what I'm kind of realizing is I keep going over this bump. I need to build out above and below this bump. Now, you guys may notice today that my watch is actually on my right wrist as opposed to my left. That is because the other day when I was working on the concrete, I was not paying attention. And I got concrete under my watch band. So I have some irritation around my left wrist that I'm just waiting for it to heal a little bit. And I don't feel right without my watch on. So I came up with a solution, and I may look a little goofy I feel a little goofy with it on my right wrist. I don't guess it really makes that big of a difference, but so basically what we're going to do is just sit here and thicken out just above and below this lollipop line that we've got going. And see if we can start to build the shape we actually want just a bit more. And I know I am sacrificing the paintbrush. This is a dollar store paintbrush. They're actually like $5 for a whole pack of them. So, this guy's already been dipped in concrete a couple of times. It's been dipped in plaster a time or two. So, we're not going to be hurting too much by using it for this. We're also going to use it to kind of fill in some of these odd little dips and stuff here. Just basically we're going to build him out a little bit. There we go. Now I won't get back to this until next week after today. You guys know, as you guys know by now, I work weekends, and I don't try to get out here and do full-length content on the weekends. It's just with the pets, the work, and the household, trying to carve out the amount of time it takes to get set up, and everything is just, would take the fun out of it. And you can kind of see where that is starting to plump out a little bit here. And I am just kind of using that base that I laid down yesterday to hold this in place, which is actually working really quite well. I realized I'm probably sticking my head right in the shot every so often here. I do apologize. I'll continue to try and round that top out a little bit more. And this is actually kind of fun, to be perfectly honest. I'm kind of enjoying the paintbrush approach. It's a whole different thing, but it definitely seems to be adding layers rather easily and quickly. And also smoothing out some of those odd spots a little bit. There we go. I am kind of glad it doesn't seem like my birds are continuing their screaming fit. It is actually a little bit ridiculous, the things that you have to do when you have pets that are on an intelligence level of small children. Sometimes you actually have to do punishments that you would do with small children. Like today, they lost their TV privileges for a good 20 minutes because they decided to scream non-stop. And if you take away their Disney, they get really upset. But because they are on the intelligence level of about, I would say mine are probably in the 4 to 5 year old range. Generally with conures, you want to figure 3 to 5 years, and same thing with cockatiels. So they can absolutely understand, if I do this, this happens. So when they lost their TV privileges, they realized if they quieted down and behaved, they would eventually get them back. Which is actually kind of amazing when you think about it. These little tiny 60 to 80 gram birds understand the concept of this is what caused this to happen, so if this stops, then this happens. And a brief little update on Hannah. Not a lot of change. She's still slowly struggling to come back to healthy. It's probably going to be a while, I think, because this particular spot is very, very, very indented for some reason. We're just going to take this guy here. Probably should have folded it up before I put it in the plaster, but, you know. Not one who is ever going to be accused of actually thinking of everything that I need to think of right off the bat. So I'm going to continue this over here. Not loving how Well, let's actually straighten that out just a bit. And well, I managed for a good while not to get it completely all over my hands. But, you know, would it really be one of my videos if I didn't get whatever medium I'm working with all over my hands? But this time I know if I get it up under my watch band, I take the watch band off and clean it really good and thoroughly. Because it looks much better now, but that hurt. Like, surprisingly more than I would have probably expected it to. It really did not feel good. Now we're going to take there goes plaster on my table. But we knew that was going to happen too. It's not like my table hasn't seen bizarre compounds and stuff in the past. And we don't pretend to be professionals around here. Messes are fun. You just have to make sure to clean them up eventually. And the good thing with plaster is it is actually really easy to clean up when you get some of it somewhere that you'd really rather it not be. It's mostly just large amounts of water. Let's unfold this just a little bit there. And I do apologize, I know I'm off screen a little bit there. I'm just kind of flattening out some of these odd spots. Okay, so making my messes is definitely quite fun. There we go. So we're going to let that dry a little bit and we'll probably come back around to it. But what we're really doing here is just slowly trying to build up layer after layer. Smooth it out. Get it just a little bit of a cleaner look. And build it out to where it is more round and less odd sucker shape. And once again, continuing this excuse me. And this ball has definitely been a test of my patience and my creativity. But I'm going to be really honest and say I haven't had a layer on this thing that I didn't actually have fun putting there. It's a little odd. You would think that it would get old. Just trying and failing and trying and failing. But each layer is kind of a little bit of a story that I am going to see every single time I look out at my yard and I see this thing. And to me, that is absolutely worth the frustration, the moments of, you know, should I just give up? Because, I mean, when you think about it, this is 2 punch bowls stuck one on top of the other. Everything else has been layer upon layer upon layer added to it to slowly get it more and more spherical, and more in the shape that we really want it to be in. And we're going to go really thick right here because there's a seam there that just wants to keep trying to pop up. So we're going to seal that seam down a little bit so that I can work without having to fight it. We can definitely see a difference already in the shape of the thing. This is actually quite fun. I'm just adding layer after layer, getting it to the desired size and shape. Let's see, are we thickened enough here to come over a little bit? So I think, yeah, that's got to dry up a little bit more. So now we're going to start underneath. And it's a lot of the same theory. I am going to have to kind of come up on the seam a little bit, but we're going to mostly avoid that. And try and just slowly but surely build up down here the same way we did up top. Now, as you can see, I have not done nearly as good of a job on this bottom as I have on the top ahead of time. So it's going to take probably a few more layers on the bottom than it will on the top, just to slowly round this out. But it'll be worth it in the end. It's one of those old sayings that, you know, I love, which is trust the process. And what's good with doing this is if I thicken it up a little too much, I can always just hit it with a sander and flatten it back out a little bit. Now the good thing is the bottom actually doesn't have to be perfection, because at least some of it is actually going to get cut off. And then some of it is going to be sitting actually on the base, so. Let's see if we can smooth this out just a bit here. So I don't know if that's going to work in my theory or not. I don't think it's going to quite go that way. Yes, one approach could be just to wear down this edge. But I think if we just continue building up on the bottom the same as we have the top and filling in these extra little bumps and stuff that we keep spotting, and just slowly, slowly build her up to where we want her. I think it's probably going to be best if I just keep going on the top. I may have to set it in something like a bowl or something to work on the bottom next time, but we can do that pretty easily. And that way this up and down really seems to be working a lot better for a lot of the smoothing and shaping. Obviously, some of these spots still need a lot of shaping. We got a little air stuck in there somewhere here. And we're going to move that over there so it's not quite so in the way. There we go. Oh, my little wasp friend is back. So we're going to let that part dry. I keep trying to work with it and it just keeps getting worse. Well, my goodness, somebody on the highway was noisy, weren't they? Actually had a little chunk here that was nice and thick. Sir, land in my plaster and we're going to have issues. You more than me. Yes, I talk to bugs. Bugs, animals, pets, inanimate objects, you name it, there's a good chance I talk to it. And of course, when you get your hands completely covered in a substance you'd really rather not have on your face, that's when your nose itches. It's the way it goes, isn't it, guys? So how are we doing on time? Well, my goodness, I've been sitting here doing this for 25 minutes already. Just slowly adding layer after layer. But we have almost completely eliminated the appearance of the paper towels, and we've smoothed out a lot of the smaller bumps. And we're slowly getting more and more of a rounded feel. It's just going to take time and patience, and remembering when I covered up a seam that I'm trying to work around. Let's get some of this thicker stuff here. That should gel that down a little more thoroughly. Mr. Wasp, can you find your window, please? Thank you. Trying to get more and more layers on as my mixture is thickening, because I want those thick layers on top, you know, just kind of solidifying the whole thing. You can see the difference as it thickens up, the effect it's having on the surface underneath it. And there goes more onto my table. And that's okay. We can work with that. No sense in panicking every time something silly happens. So I'm trying to keep going just until I run out. I made a little bit more, I think, this time because, well, I don't think I made more. I think I'm utilizing it a bit more because I am brushing it on as opposed to doing the paper mache effect. Dude, can you stop? Usually, this wasp that likes to hang out in here just kind of chills somewhere. Maybe does a flyby or two, but today, for some reason, she's just all over the place, and she's kind of driving me bonkers. I am really happy with how that is starting to fill out. And I think if we can get the top, making the bottom match it will be a lot easier. Now I'm just adding on to this little belt level right above our problem spot, that little seam there. Also trying to convince this paper towel to go where I want it to. This approach is less professional and definitely more fun. But it is actually proving pretty effective. And the goal there is just basically making it lay reasonably flat so that we can eventually just smooth over it. For right now, we're going to kind of smooth around it though. And this is the point where the intrusive thoughts tell me to just dump the whole thing over the top of it. Which we're not going to do, because that would be a lot of fun, but a really big mess. And that is not what we're trying to accomplish here today. Actually, if we could make every section look like that one right there, I think it would be about perfect, wouldn't it? I'm kind of wondering if this will work. Cockatiels are having opinions. That is not a new concept. My cockatiels are definitely opinionated a little too. We're actually in the process of trying to find a cage so we can cohab the two of them, because they just bonded together immediately. But we do not have a big enough empty cage for the two of them. So we think they'll be happier living together, but they need space. And we don't want to put anybody in anybody else's territory, because that's not fair. So I don't know, to be honest, if that's working, but I think it actually might be. I'm just having a good old time over here, as you can tell. Just kind of messing around, trying different things. I know they make globes that I could easily repurpose. This is just kind of fun to to see if I can do it, you know, just to keep trying until I figure out how to make the concept work. It's a little bonkers and maybe a little silly. And when you're doing your projects, if you want to go the easier route, I will not judge even a teeny tiny little bit. But I really kind of want to see this through. Even if she's not a perfect sphere by the time I get her done, if she's pretty close, I don't think anybody's going to come up and measure my gazing ball and see if it's perfect round. Not sure how much my OCD will put up with, but it's all in fun. I am making a glorious mess on my table, and that's kind of neat. I don't know, I might let those pieces dry and come back and try and use them for something or another. Dude, not in the ears, okay? My wasp friend is not being a friend today. He's just being a pest. Or she. I haven't really gotten in there to see. I think it's probably a female, because most are. But I think I am going to have to stop for now and just let this dry a bit before I can get much farther, because we are getting quite soggy and my table's getting pretty messy. And my thumb and index finger on my left hand have hardened, so that's kind of fun. But we have definitely made more progress today. We've got it a lot smoother. Obviously, she still needs even more smooth, but slightly more cylindrical. A few more spots kind of tightened in and no longer looking like they're going to fall off at any minute. And then we have this neat little mess that we made here, which is, in my opinion, still kind of fun. If I was trying to make something creepy looking for Halloween, I think I found my technique. Right? But we can come in and smooth this out just a little bit. And I think we're going to stop here and let her dry. And I will talk to you guys on Monday. Obviously, I'll try and get up a short or two. But for now, I'm pretty happy with where we've gotten for today. And I will talk to you guys next time.